Welcome to the United State of Us podcast. My name is Erin Flood, and today I have to tell you, I'm so excited about what we're going to learn today. My guest is Hope Pedraza, and she is a certified holistic nutritionist, functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. Did I get your official title
Yes,
right?
you did.
She's also the owner of inBalance, a Pilates-based studio. And she's gonna, as my audience knows, gonna kick it off with telling us a little bit more about the roles and titles that she holds. But first of all, Hope, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here with you.
Yes, me too. And although I wish, although this virtual life is so amazing and all the people that you get to connect with, Hope and I were just trading stories about our weather. And in Wisconsin today, it is minus 14. In Texas, they're having a cold snap, but it'll probably get up to 60. So I'm wishing that real life, we were hanging at Hope.
Right.
Doing this interview in warmer weather.
Totally.
Okay. So let's just get right into it. Can you just describe, as women, we identify so much with the roles and titles that we hold in our life. Can you just tell us a little bit about the roles and the titles that you currently hold in your life?
Yes. I feel like right now I have a lot just because of my business. I'm, a solopreneur. So I'm CEO and I'm owner and I'm the marketer and I'm, the sales manager and I'm, the teacher and the instructor and all those things that involve owning a brick and mortar studio and then also my online business. But, the most important roles, I'm a wife and I'm a mom. I have two littles and, those are my most proudest positions right now, but I do have a lot of hats that I wear at the moment.
Yeah, well, the balancing act between all those things, I'm sure is, a challenge as any mother that's listening.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure.
Okay. And if you had to just describe kind of the essence of you without those roles and titles, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. That's a really good question. Well, I'd like to say that just in terms of my personality, I'm very type A perfectionist and to my detriment many times. I'd like to say I'm a recovering perfectionist because I've been working on it, but I don't think I'm quite there at that recovered part, but I'm trying. But I'm very driven and determined and sometimes a little bit too much, but I've been on this kind of self-discovery journey where I'm trying to lean more into the feminine energy, right? And kind of letting more allowing and receiving in. So that's kind of where I am right now.
Yeah, I love that. And I don't want to fill in the blanks, especially because we've known each other for a minute and a half, but I'd imagine also determined and
yes.
Your energy, and you guys, you need to follow her social because just so much knowledge and so much positivity.
Thank you.
And we'll talk about that. But, okay. So one of the reasons why I was so excited to have you on the podcast today was because as you talk about, you're kind of diving into exploring maybe more feminine energy or working on that perfectionist tendency. One of the things that I've really been kind of diving more into is really looking at a holistic view of health. And I think a lot of people, especially in the times that we're living in, are diving into something similar. How can I optimize my health? And can you just describe a little bit about what your title or what your certification means as far as your approach to health and wellness?
Yeah, for sure. So, holistic nutrition, right, is kind of like that holistic approach like you're talking about, right? It's looking at everything from this holistic perspective, from this comprehensive perspective where you're treating everything as a whole, right? We're not treating anything super specifically. If you were to go to a doctor and you get diagnosed with something and they're going to treat the specific symptoms. And so, I started as just a basic nutrition coach. And then I went in to do this extensive degree to get my, be certified as a holistic nutritionist. And then I added on this kind of advanced certification in functional nutrition, just to be able to provide support at a deeper level for the clients I work with, because with, FDNP, for those who are listening who aren't aware, of Functional Diagnostic Nutrition Practitioner. And we use functional labs and screenings to help create like personalized protocols. And similar to just holistic nutrition in general, we're treating the body as a whole. And so we're treating everything super non-specifically. So we're working on coaching up function in the body so that we can coach down like any dysfunction or imbalances that are going on in the body. So we're not treating either, we're not diagnosing anything, we're not treating anything super specifically. Now, people a lot of times come to me for specific things, they've got thyroid issues or they've got, some sort of autoimmune thing going on. So they have these specific symptoms. But the thing about it is when something is going wrong in the body, it's the end result of like this cascade of things that have gone wrong in the body. So it's almost impossible to really get down to the root cause of the problems because it's caused this like snowball effect of other things that have gone wrong. And so as an FDNP, it's not really our job to go and figure out exactly what it was that caused the problem, but it's just to, again, coach up function and treat the body as a whole to heal all the parts that are dysfunctioning.
I love that. Okay. So we're coaching up function, coaching down dysfunction.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I love that. Okay. So one of the things that you have talked a lot about that really piques my interest is leaky gut. And I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like there's a whole camp that's like leaky gut. Yes. And then there's a whole camp that's like leaky gut is fake.
It's not a thing.
Like, it's not a thing. It's not a real thing. So can you just tell us about what leaky gut is? First of all, let's just start there. Leaky gut.
Yeah. So the mucosal barrier in your gut, the lining of your gut is very sensitive. It's actually only like one cell thick. It's super thin and very delicate. And so the things that go on in our body can cause damage to that layer. And these are just, overall inflammation that's caused from things like, foods that are inflammatory, environmental pollutants, things you're putting in on your skin, any kind of stress on the body can cause damage to that lining of the gut. And so when that happens, it causes little like perforations. And so you have permeability, right? So it allows undigested foods and potential pathogens and all kinds of things escape out of there. And it just kind of floats around in circulation. It gets into your bloodstream. And this can cause things, it's related to things like, autoimmune disorders, IBS, psoriasis, eczema, just gut issues in general. It really, the list is endless, but it all goes back to just stress on the body that's causing these little perforations in your gut lining.
Okay. That's a great example. Tell us then, so now we have some permeability in that lining. What are some things we might notice about ourselves if we have leaky gut?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, and here's the other thing, and this is what it intrigues me the most about like being an FDNP is because so many symptoms are also symptoms of other things. And so a lot of times it's really hard to tell, like, is it leaky gut or is it something else? But things like bloating, food sensitivities, headaches, constipation, fatigue, like chronic fatigue, depression and anxiety can be related to leaky gut, brain fog, heartburn, autoimmune issues, hormone issues, thyroid issues, allergies, asthma, PCOS, people that have PMS, all of those things can be linked back to leaky gut or some sort of permeability in the gut.
Okay. So when you think about this and you're talking about treating things, holistically and broad range, when you look at the general population, do you know like what percentage of the population probably suffers from leaky gut?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I wouldn't be able to tell you a specific number, but I can tell you that every single client I've ever worked with has some sort of permeability going on. So, I mean, it's up there. And again, it's hard to know, exactly if the symptoms you're dealing with are related to that, but I would say 9 times out of 10, there's some sort of level of permeability going on. And then it could be more severe, in certain people, just depending on the person. But yeah, it's a good chunk of people out there dealing with this.
Yeah, because I'm listening to the list of symptoms and I'm also just thinking about like the general American diet, like the average American diet and the number of inflammatory, not only the foods that we put in our body, but the environmental,
for sure.
Toxins, allergens that cause inflammation in our body. Okay. So my next question is, how do you diagnose leaky gut?
Yeah. So, just to, as a disclaimer, as an FDNP, I will not diagnose anybody, but I do run labs and screenings that can help give me a picture into what's going on in the gut. And so we run a handful of labs that would test for intestinal permeability. So it's going to test these different enzymes that would show me if they're elevated. It would show me that there is some sort of permeability going on in the gut. And then I would test things like histamine levels, like overall oxidative stress in the body. So kind of putting all of these labs together, because I would run a series. Typically I would say like 5 would be the average I would want to run just to get a good picture of what's going on in the body. But being able to put those pieces together and to connect that with, the symptoms and things that the client's dealing with, that kind of gives me a good picture if there is some permeability going on. And then 2, another test we look at, there's a GI mapping test that shows like different bacteria and yeast and fungi and parasites and stuff. And there's a lot of those, if these certain bacteria are present, pretty good chance you have some, permeability in your gut.
Okay. I love this. So in a different podcast, we talked about like bacteria in our gut, and with Christy Hall, she's the founder of True Grace. And she has vitamins and, oh my gosh, Erin, probiotic. There we go.
Yeah.
So we talked to you about the importance of probiotics. So
yeah.
Can you just maybe dive in, without getting too much in the weeds? Let's just say we can take me as an example. I had a period of time where I was very sick and had to be on really heavy antibiotics for months. Okay.
Yeah.
Which we know pretty much destroys the bacteria in your gut, right?
Yep.
Is that enough to give me leaky gut? And would it heal on its own, or do you typically need other interventions to heal?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, the answer to your first question is yes. I mean, and to, everybody is different, obviously. And there are some people who get sicker quicker, like it's just, just genetically, their environment, whatever. And so there are some people where one round of antibiotics could totally give them leaky gut just from that one round. Now there's some people that it might cause some damage. It may not cause like extreme permeability, but it could, damage the gut. So it's going to depend on the person. But yes, there is a chance that, using antibiotics long-term for any period of time could totally damage the lining of your gut. As far as the healing process, our bodies are very smart, right? And they're meant to adapt. So is there a chance your body could heal on its own? Maybe. But if you're not doing all the things to prevent like further inflammation, and really you could eat as healthy as you want, but sometimes it's not going to be enough to really heal the damage that's been done. And so like for my clients that deal with this, it's a combination of diet, and it's kind of eliminating the super inflammatory foods for a period of time, not forever, but for a period of time to kind of like calm down the inflammation and allow the body to heal itself. And then accompanying that with recommended supplements. And it would be like probiotics is a good way to, rebuild the gut and rebuild the healthy bacteria. Prebiotics, which is the food for the probiotics for the bacteria. Things like licorice root, things like that. There's a lot of herbs and stuff that can help rebuild the lining of your intestines. And there's a whole list of them. And it kind of depends on the person, but there's a whole list of them that really, I would give them kind of a 90-day protocol where it's like, let's eliminate these certain foods for right now. Let's add in these supplements and kind of let the body do its thing. And then we can wean ourselves off the supplements and kind of slowly incorporate some of these foods back in and kind of see how it goes.
Okay. I love that. And I appreciate you just kind of giving me that walkthrough, because I know I'm asking you to be specific when I'm giving you like general parameters. So
no, it's good.
So that was great. And I'm like sitting here just thinking about how I wish, and maybe where you are, they have this, but I'm like, I wish there was a place for like, for example, having Christy there talking about her vitamins, and that people could see, they could see you, they could see my friend, Caitlin, actually the episode that's out this week that I'm replaying, she's an herbalist, and like her knowledge base just on how to heal our bodies and really give it what they need is incredible too. So like, I wish there was a little place where I could just go weekly and visit you.
Everybody.
Like, what do we got going on here?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to move on to something that you mentioned. You talked about diet and the role diet plays in gut health.
Yeah.
And I know specifically you are very passionate about a plant-based diet.
Mm-hmm.
So can you just talk to us a little, because to be honest with you, over the years, I've never gone like vegan. I eat eggs. I actually love fish, but I always feel like meat is kind of a challenge for me to process.
Yeah.
So I've played with eliminating it. I've played with paring it back. But just tell us about, I guess, why plants are so important and why you're passionate about plant-based diet.
So my like journey to being plant-based was really like a personal thing for me. When I was little, I dealt with a lot of digestive issues and had like was in and out of a ton of doctors and doing colonoscopies and endoscopes and all the things to try to figure out what's going on. And really, I mean, and I know it's probably maybe, I would like to say it's probably better now. But I don't know, because I haven't been a gastroenterologist since I was a kid, but it was like, oh, it's IBS is what they diagnosed you with, which that's all they tell you. Yeah. They don't tell you what to do about it. They don't give, they're just like, oh, it's IBS. Okay. So that was the extent of it. Yep. And so as I got older, I just kind of educated myself on different things, nutrition, diet, whatever. And so in my 20s, I decided that I'd read a couple books and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to try to do plant-based. I'm like, just going to go vegan. And so like tomorrow I'm going to be vegan. And so that's what I did. And so I mean, I think it was probably a couple weeks in where I could really tell a difference for me, just in terms of like my digestive system was running better. Like months later, I felt like my allergies, I dealt with a lot with allergies and stuff too growing up. So like my allergies were better, like all the things that I dealt with, like I could totally tell a difference. So for me, it's very personal because I was able to kind of heal my body that way. But I am also fully aware that being plant-based isn't for everybody. And so with my clients, I'm not like, teaching them to be vegan. I'm not even encouraging them to be vegan. It's more what I call a plant-focused approach. And so it's really just putting a focus on the plants, because that really is like the healing part of our diet is the plants. And for me, it's all about the fiber in the plants, right? Because we all know that they're full of vitamins and minerals and antioxidants and all those things, but really it's the fiber. So when fiber is broken down in the body, it's broken down into short chain fatty acids. And this is what helps with the healthy gut. It helps promote healthy gut bacteria. It helps promote healthy gut lining. So it's as that fiber is metabolized that it has like these, what I call healing properties, right? That's really going to help build a healthy gut. So whether, you're incorporating, and I eat fish every now and then too. I'm a fish snob. So I'm very snobby about, where my fish is from and stuff, but I do incorporate it every now and then. And, whether your diet includes meat or not, that's fine, but it's still putting an emphasis on the plants, because we still need the fruits and the vegetables and the nuts and the seeds and the legumes and all the good things that comes from plants. And that's really what helps my clients is, just eating this diverse diet, including all these different kinds of plants and stuff to help rebuild their gut and help them on that healing process.
Okay, this might be a weird question, but as a mom, I'm always thinking about like meal prep stuff and ways to integrate vegetables. And if there are parents listening right now with littles, like your kids are 1 and 3, is that right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I think there's this like fear that your kids are not going to like vegetables, which was not my experience, because to be honest with you, I gave them to my kids first. Like before we had like a lot of the sweeter things, we did the others. And so they're pretty good vegetable eaters, but can you tell us if there were vegetables, obviously you have to, depending on what everyone's strategy for is introducing foods. I'm not talking about, infant food,
right?
But as you meal prep, how do you integrate vegetables? Is there a favorite vegetable? Is there a favorite way that you can get your kids to eat them? What's your strategy?
Yeah, no, that's good. I like that question. And my 1-year-old, she pretty much eats anything, right? Like she'll eat anything. So she's not an issue. My little guy used to be the same way. And if they get into the toddler age and all of a sudden they're picky, all of a sudden, they eat one thing one day and then they decide the next day they don't like it. So that's kind of where we are with that. But for me, it's really just finding ways to incorporate it into other things. So he loves smoothies. So for me, that's like the easiest way is I dump in spinach or kale into a smoothie. And I know he's getting some greens and you put some fruit and stuff in it. Or like pasta sauce or making pasta and just putting like I'll put like chopped up carrots and spinach and there, blend up some veggies and stuff put in there. So it's just finding ways to, and I don't like to say sneak it in, because I don't want it to be like, we're trying to keep it from them so they don't know it's in there, because we want them to know it's healthy food, but it's just really finding ways to mix it into other things that we're making. And he loves to be in the kitchen with me. So he sees me putting it in, he helps me put the stuff in, the blender and all that. So it's just incorporating into things, like clever ways, I guess, to incorporate into things that you're already making, so that you can kind of find some discrete ways to put in without just putting like a plate of spinach out in front of him,
Yeah. I love that. And I agree. And I think there's at a certain age, they really need to know about what they're putting in their body. But when they're little, it's like just the introduction sometimes of the taste, so that it's not so foreign to them when they get older that they're like, ugh, what is that? And don't want it.
For sure. And that's kind of where we are too with the 3-year-old. Like last night we were eating, and he didn't want to eat a lot of what me and my husband were eating, but I'm like, at least taste it. I just want you don't have to eat the whole thing, but just taste it. Cause I just want him to taste it and see like, it's not as bad as you think it is. Cause you haven't even tasted it to know if you like it or not. So just put like just one spoonful, taste it, and then you can eat, the rest of your food. So just letting them experience it and taste it, and just, I think it makes a big difference.
One thing that I always struggled with when thinking about like being a vegan was protein. And feeling like I got enough protein from what I was having, in my plants. What are some ways that you are able to incorporate protein into a plant-based diet?
Yeah. And that's the thing you hear the most, right? And that's when, people online or people I talk to, like, oh, where do you get your protein? Like, people don't understand that you can get protein from plants. For me, lentils are kind of like my go-to. Lentils are they're legumes, and they're a lot easier to digest than a lot of other legumes. And they're super high in protein, and they're super high in iron, which is something that you don't get in a lot of other plant-based foods, right? People think you have to eat meat to get iron, but you don't. Lentils are a really good source of that. And they're so versatile. Like, you can use it for, tacos and spaghetti, and like use it in place of ground meat. You would use, wherever you use ground meat. So lentils are kind of the go-to. I also do, like, if I make like pasta or something, I like to do like protein pasta. So usually lentil pasta is what I do. So we've had lentil pasta. And you can easily just eat like pasta and spaghetti sauce and get a really good plate of protein, because it's the only ingredient in the lentil pasta is lentils. But other legumes too, like eating, black beans and chickpeas and mung beans are a really good source. Eating edamame, right? Eating tofu, eating tempeh, so things like that. Nuts and seeds, hemp seeds are actually a really great source of protein, higher in the fat content, obviously, but really good source of protein. And I know, not everybody, soy can be inflammatory to some people. So it's kind of that's kind of like a case by case thing. Like I tolerate soy fine, so I eat it. But yeah, I think those are all really good. And then, as a supplement, finding like a good quality plant-based protein powder to use like in smoothies or like after your workout, things like that.
Yeah, I love that. I was not a lentil believer. However, I love them now. Like, I think they almost are kind of tasteless. So it's really more about what you pair them
with.
You
can put it with anything. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, and the texture is fine for me. So I actually am a lentil believer. So it's funny that you're like lentils. Yes. I like it.
Yes.
Okay. You also talked about your brick and mortar business, and, tell us what role you feel like exercise plays in this kind of bigger health picture.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think most of your listeners know that, exercise is a key piece of wellness, right? We know we should move our bodies. I think that there's twofold here. It's obviously important. It's important for, muscle strength, for healthy bones, healthy oxygenated blood, for healthy brain, but it helps with mental health, get the endorphins going and all of that, with strength and balance and agility as you get older, to help, protect your body so that you have, good balance and proprioception as you age. And so there's that piece of it. But then I think the other piece that's important that I always talk with my clients about is, exercise is crucial, and I recommend it to everybody, but at the same time, it can also work against you. And I think that's the piece a lot of us forget about. People who are used to like working out super hard or used to doing like, and I'm saying this too, because I'm the same way. I used to run marathons too, like endurance sports like that, that's super hard on your body, can actually work against you. It's working against your muscles and your bones. It's, your body's moving in one plane of motion when you're running. So it's more likely to cause injuries, but also it can affect your hormones and your cortisol levels, because too intense exercise can really affect your cortisol, which can throw up your hormones. So that's the other thing too, where it's like, okay, I'm exercising, but if I'm exercising like extreme exercise, and I'm doing more harm than good. Or, if I'm struggling to sleep, but then I'm getting up at 4 a.m. to do my workout because I have to do my workout, then it's counterproductive, because now you're just throwing off your hormones. So exercise is crucial and it's important, but it's also about balance as well.
Okay. So, one of the things that, and I'm like, this is really embarrassing to say out loud, but I'm just going to go with it. So I have a Pilates reformer in my basement.
Awesome.
That I rarely use.
It happens to the best of us.
Because there's no place around like where I live that has them, where I could like go take a class and really get into a rhythm. Mm-hmm. However, you appear to be like the queen of it. And so talk to us about why Pilates based and how the specific exercise that you do falls into the holistic picture, like the tramp and lymph nodes and like talk to us.
Yeah. So, I was a dancer growing up. My background is dance. I danced for 20, however many years. And so that's really what got me into Pilates. Was it lent well to my dance background and my dance, career in high school and college and all that. So I first started teaching Pilates classes when I first started teaching like group fitness classes. Right. And so with my studio, that's kind of where the direction I wanted to go, is to create a place where I could create multiple like modalities, but all keep it based on Pilates principles. Because really, in essence, I mean, some of your listeners might know what Pilates is, but if you don't, it's really all the focus is on the core, right? It's balance and it's precision and it's flexibility and it's strength, that it's all focused on the core. And so using those elements of Pilates to create other classes. So we offer, dance cardio classes. We have like interval, like HIIT classes. We do trampoline cardio. We have reformer classes, all the Pilates equipment. And so really it's just incorporating, the most important elements to me of a workout is its strength, endurance, flexibility, and balance, like including all four of those and, whatever shape. But for me, Pilates is so, I mean, I am totally biased, but Pilates is so perfect because it incorporates all of those and it's so accessible. Because even if you don't have reformer, you could do Pilates, you just do it on the mat, right? It's so accessible. And then really, at least the way that we teach it at my studio, it's so inclusive. And now there are like, this is like going down the rabbit hole. We could talk about this, but there are different schools of Pilates, right? There's the more classical base and then there's the more contemporary. The contemporary is what we do because it's more functional, right? It's more functional for the everyday person. So we're kind of incorporating these functional movements within the Pilates class. And it's so inclusive because everybody at every level can do it. And all of our, like, we don't level off our classes. They're for all levels. So you have super beginners, you have people who've been doing it for, 20 years, they're all in the same class and they're able to move at the level that they feel comfortable or even move at the level that they feel comfortable that day. You come in, you're kind of having a crappy day and you don't feel really super energetic. You can move at, the level that you feel like you have the energy for that day. And you still get all the benefits of a Pilates class.
Yeah. And for people that don't know about the other, like trampoline, why is that so good for you to jump?
Yeah. So trampoline, we added trampoline cardio, I guess it's like maybe a year before COVID, a year or so before COVID. And so we started out and our main cardio class is our dance cardio class. And it's a high impact class. Like it's not for everybody because it is high impact for, jumping around, moving around, whatever. And so I wanted to bring in a class that was easier on the joints and that was more inclusive because there are some people who can't, bounce around and stuff. So it's easier on the joints. And then what's great about the trampoline is bouncing is super good for your lymphatic system, which is what you were talking about, because it helps clear out the lymph. It helps keep your blood and your tissues and all that clean. It promotes healthy joints just as much as jumping on the ground. And it's really a great cardio workout that's easier on the body. So that's actually, it's one of our favorites now for people, because a lot of people that come to us, they want to do a good, high energy cardio class, but the high impact is what keeps them from doing other cardio classes, right? Like, a boot camp or whatever. So it's really a great way to get the cardio that you're looking for, but it's easier on your body.
Okay. And as long as we're diving into this holistic all over, and hopefully I'm not too all over the place for you here, Hope.
I love it.
Oh, what about that?
I love it.
Another thing is that I just have learned through my own issues was how restorative that can be to your pelvic floor. I think so many women, if you're listening and you've had kids, you're like, a trampoline. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Like, I'm going to pee and it's going to be horrible. And no. However, like, I found it for myself, at least, that starting slowly and building up, it's a really, really good for the strength of my pelvic floor and that balance and control.
Yep, for sure. And that's funny you say that, because when we first started the class at my studio, that was like the reaction of probably 90% of the women. They're like, I'm not going to bounce. Like, one was like, I'm going to have to wear my Depends in class. I'm going to be peeing all over the place. So that's like people's initial reaction. Women, they're like, I can't. And it's so true. And just easing into it, starting off slow, whatever, it will totally build good pelvic floor strength and just control. I mean, it's all of that. It's pelvic floor. It's just the core in general and the balance and all of that. It's so good for all of that. And the more you do it, the better your pelvic floor is, really, truly. Like, it does make a difference.
Yeah. I agree completely. I'm a like a bouncing believer. I'm really into it. And even like, I started, in fact, I need to get back into the routine, but like during the pandemic, when suddenly we were like shut off from everything and everyone, I'm like, okay, I have my trampoline. So there's so much, like positivity, even for like mentally, the bouncing, like starting.
You feel like a kid. Yeah.
I feel like Tony Robbins maybe does it. Somebody like that's like very influential, like motivational jumps in the morning. I think it's Tony for like 10 minutes.
I think you're right. I feel like I've heard that before.
Yeah. Just because like the way it wakes you up. And again, like the lymphatic drainage, and there's so many other positive things, but, I think I talk a lot about exercise, and I tend to like it most when I push myself to the edge of like almost not being able to do it. Just because I need that for myself, probably mentally more than anything. However, I've really also realized that in order to do that, I also have to have days, like you're saying, where when my body says like, that's not going to happen today, or maybe you shouldn't today, that there are still other options. It doesn't mean it's a sedentary day. Maybe it's a walk.
Exactly.
Maybe it's 10 minutes bouncing on the trampoline. Maybe it's, putting my feet in the stirrups on the reformer and taking more of like a stretch and strength or
for sure.
I
think that's a good point to make, because it's not all or nothing. Like, just because you don't have the energy to do like a hardcore class doesn't mean you can't move. So
totally. And I feel like too, in January, it's the beginning of the year. Everyone's like really thinking about their resolutions, and so many are around our physical being, like what we want to lose from our physical self. Like, I want to lose weight. I want to whatever. Like, what can we add to our routine to give back to our body that does so much for us? So maybe it's like waking up 10 minutes earlier and doing the bounce on my tramp. This is good for me, because this is like you're giving me a pep talk, Hope.
Yes.
So I feel like that's like, I love everything you're saying about that and the positive aspects of it. How do you balance all of this with being a mom?
It's a lot sometimes. I think the past, like I mentioned at the beginning, I was kind of on this like self-discovery kind of journey thing, like trying to take care of myself better. And I think the past probably 6 months, I've been better about like checking in with myself and being able to be like, okay, I just need to shut it off. Like I just need I need to turn my brain off. So I think I'm getting better at that. And just knowing how to save some of my like mental energy and emotional energy, right? And not expend it all, because I'm used to doing, again, it goes back to being my type A perfectionist. I'm used to just expending every ounce of energy, doing everything. That's just how I roll. Right. And so I think it's just being better and being more aware, like self-awareness plays a big role in it. Just being more aware of the times where I'm like, I'm being super unproductive because my brain is telling me to stop. And I'm like, no, you keep going. So being aware when my intuition is being like, okay, just step away, like take a second, right? Take a breather. That's been really crucial for me, because it can be overwhelming, to babies that require a lot of attention, right? They're not exactly self-sufficient yet. And my 3-year-old does a decent job, but they still need a lot of attention. And then running 2 businesses it can be a lot on the brain. So just, making sure I'm checking with myself and being more kind to myself. And I think that's what it comes down to is like recognizing that you have to be kind to yourself. And this is the only body that you get. And you have to take care of all parts of it, not just like the physical parts of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I always think about, people who do the things that I do for stress relief for their full-time job, what their stress relief looks like,
Right.
Do you mind just sharing 1 or 2 tips about what you do for stress relief?
Yeah, no, I like that question. Because for me, like working out is my job. So I mean, no, it is nice to get, to be able to work out for a living. It's nice, but sometimes it is, especially by Friday, I've taught a bazillion classes and my body is like done. Like I've had enough. For me, it's, I do meditation. I try to do daily meditation. So I try to do that in the morning. I have super early clients, but I like to get up early because everybody's still asleep. The house is quiet. I can sit on the couch and like have a few minutes to myself. So it's meditation. Meditation is probably the biggest one for me. I like to do journaling. So I'm trying to get more into that this year too. And I've been doing pretty good about it. But journaling, just getting like all the things going on in my head on paper, right? Just like emptying my brain out is super helpful. And then I last year I worked with this spiritual coach and I got into tapping. And so I feel like that is another good way, to release stuck, energy, emotions, all of that. And that's been super helpful too.
Yeah, I love that. Someday if we need to have your person on, we can do a whole thing about
tapping. She would totally come on. She's been on my podcast. She would totally come on. She's awesome.
Oh yeah, that's great. There's so many cool, I do think that the bright spot from the last several years of this wildlife we're living in is just all the people that have brought their incredible knowledge to like this space that makes it so possible for other people, just because we need each other. We need to stay connected. We need to share what we know. We need to share what we know doesn't work or what we don't know, and be honest about it. And
for sure.
So I think that's so cool. Yeah. The last question I always ask my guests is, I think as adults, one of the hardest things to do is to finish the job of raising ourselves. That so much of what we thought adulthood was going to be about when we were kids, about like knowing all the answers and having it all figured out. Like we get here and we realize we actually probably know less about the world now than what we did.
Totally.
What we did then. Yes. But I think a lot of the times, like our passion really puts us in a spot to be able to finish that job. So what do you think this path in your life is helping you finish raising in yourself?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And again, that's kind of like the path I'm on right now, is that's what I feel like I am raising myself. I think it's just kind of reiterating what I said before. I think it's being able to show myself like grace and kindness. I think it's teaching me that all the answers that I've been looking for, like I've had all along, right? It's learning to listen to my intuition and not trying to find the person that has all the answers, that I have all the answers. And I think that's probably the biggest piece, is just learning to listen to my intuition and just the inner voice, like telling you what direction to go, what path to follow, and being able to recognize it and follow it and just trust that that's the right decision.
Yeah. I love that.
Mm.
Same. I mean,
Mhm.
love it.
Yeah.
We don't need it from the outside. We have it on the inside.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Before we end, you have to tell us about how people can find you, because clearly I'm in Wisconsin and you're in Texas. However, there are ways that people listening from everywhere can connect
Yes.
with you. So if they're local to you, Hope, how do they find you?
Yeah, if you happen to be in Texas listening to this, I am located right now. I have 2 studios in San Antonio, Texas for my brick and mortar. And then we do have like an online membership, like a virtual membership for anybody who wants to watch that doesn't live in Texas. But for my nutrition business, you can follow me on Instagram. It's at the Hope Pedraza, where I talk a lot about nutrition and some Pilates sprinkled in. And then I also have a free Facebook group. It's Live Wholesome and Healthy, all about just holistic living and nutrition and plant-based recipes and workshops, that kind of thing.
Okay, awesome. Can I get in a Pilates reformer class with you online, Hope?
We don't do them very often, but yes, we do have them periodically because we keep having people ask, but then it's like trying to figure out how to set everything up to, it's a little more complicated, but yes, we do have them every now and then.
Yeah, the camera angles, I'm sure.
Yes.
How do I properly show this? And
right.
Yeah. Well, it's been such a gift to talk to you today. I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. And please connect with Hope on Instagram. And I know we talked for a minute before we started, but you're even offering a class right now, right?
Yes. Yeah. I have Leaky Gut Workshop is coming. Masterclass is next week on the 27th. So yeah, if you want to learn more about it and how to heal your body and what it all means, everything about your gut. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's so many options for to connect with Hope, and good luck and thank you. And
Thank you so much.
I will be doing a parallel listening to my own intuition journey over here. So keep doing what you're doing, because it certainly is allowing you to lend your voice to people like me who want to learn about something that you're very passionate about. So
thank you. Thank you so much, Erin.
So on behalf of myself, Erin Flood, and Hope Pedraza, this is the United State of Us podcast. Don't forget to follow Hope and myself on Instagram at @United State of Us. And Hope gave her creds, and I will put them in the show notes as well.